we are now, just so everybody knows, we're now set up. Those of you who are on the WhatsApp, okay, the commercial WhatsApp. The link that I just sent out is the same one that we used for the large group meeting where Steve Robertson was here. And this is a permanent link that Julie and the Market Center have set up for all commercial meetings, and they'll be recorded. Brandon,
Hi, everybody.
it's super assistant leader and all-time guru of everything graphic and internet.
Probably Julie's fault.
No, got a question for you.
Okay.
We have folks that are asking, some in this room, some not, that are asking about a logo for KW Commercial Texas,
Okay.
other than just the words.
Okay.
Is that something that can be done?
What do we envision it looking like?
I have no idea. I have no idea.
We need to create a.
Be creative.
I was gonna say this.
Glitter out.
Yeah, oh yeah, get your glitter out,
Yeah.
like Car Girl with her little glitter bomb.
Together, and I'll drop it to you. You can put it inside the WhatsApp. Everybody can vote.
Well, you're on the WhatsApp too,
Okay.
so you
I
can
can
put,
do that. That's right. And. Oh. Anything
So-
else?
anybody else have anything they wanna?
Can you give us about 50 of choices?
I can, but you're not.
No, we're not gonna get them.
I would give you 47 awful choices and 3 really great ones to decide.
Really stellar.
Okay.
All right.
So yeah, if we can do that, we're taking baby steps to get everything kind of homogenized.
Yeah, once we figure out, we'll put it all in shared folders and that.
Terrific.
What kind of ETA on that?
Ooh, accountability.
No.
Give me the next 2 weeks. Yeah. You want an honest answer? You want to come back and ask? about it?
That's right.
I leave for Nashville on the 22nd, so.
What are you doing in Nashville?
So, okay, I don't need to take up your meeting time, but in Nashville, Tennessee, there was a 1947 voiceover. And back in my days, you could put a nickel in that machine.
And
for-
recorded
For
records.
2 minutes, you can record your voice and an instrument and you press a 45.
Yes.
So if I have time to go do that. I will be celebrating 10 years and I'm gonna rewrite a wedding song.
And you're gonna play it on your guitar? I love it. We have to hear it. We gonna hear it?
I have to get a needle and. have it play.
Okay, but then we can,
What am I making noise out of? That one I will be using a 1971 Martin D12 acoustic 12.
cool.
Yeah, it seems very good.
Oh, Martins are good. Martins are good. We have ovations and breed loves and stuff at home. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I've been on tour with it.
So is it gonna press the red or the colored plastic, or is
No,
it
it'll
just
be
black?
Standard tar.
Okay,
Usual-
all right,
Yeah.
all right. I'm dating myself
Willie
here.
Nelson recorded in this group. The fact, I don't even know if I'm gonna be able to get out of there. Like with any recording without stuttering, so.
That's cool.
I will have it done before Nashville.
Cool, thank you. We appreciate it.
Yeah. My pleasure.
Yes,
Didn't they say in one of the past meetings that we had that they were gonna change names? Or is still gonna be Energy Corridor?
No. Here's the deal. You're still gonna have groups, okay? Those groups are registered DBAs. So if you decide you want to stay, okay, with a group that you're a member of, Texas Golf. Let's say you want to do Texas Golf instead of Commercial Texas, okay? Then you can. If you want to do Energy Corridor, you can, okay? I will tell you,
If you want to leave us.
strangely enough, we are in a situation right now where the managing director for KW Commercial Energy Corridor is on one side of a contract, and I am on the other side of the contract as KW Commercial Texas. Okay, so there are benefits to having that ability, but technically, legally, you can use whatever DBA you want. Okay, it is a registered DBA for this market center, and it is registered with Trek. All right, so you can use it. As a group, Michael Bozart is now head of commercial, all of commercial, the umbrella parent, okay? He's head of commercial. His desire is that we become a more homogeneous group. And so to that end, what he would like to see is more use of commercial Texas. But he's still good with the others, you know, like we have our mentoring and stuff like that. That would still continue to be under energy corridor just for identification purposes, things like that. So clear as mud.
Yes.
Yeah, that's kind of the way I felt about it. Yeah, it was clear as mud. So there you go. And here's Miss Carmen. Can somebody get her a chair? Can a gentleman grab her a chair somewhere? We have a gentleman down. Thank you. She's handing me something. I love that. Can a gentleman get, and everybody sat still. And Ash has just stepped out on his phone.
We
Just,
only had one in here, so. He got up.
just so everybody knows, and you can give him grief when he walks back in, Ash has also been, given the title of director in KW Commercial Energy Corridor.
Even the.
Title of director within Energy Corridor. We have two who have completed the requirements for that per KW Commercial, okay? So they've been given the title. We've got a handful of others who are like right there, okay? And when they join, they'll be able to join as a full director if they so choose. Just told them you are now director within the group. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Another quick notice. If for those who are not already members, and you may be able to go retroactive, for those who are not already members of KW Commercial Corporate, I have made arrangements with Victoria so that we can kind of game the system. If you send her an email and you tell her you want to join, okay, but you want to be on the member roster for the Maddoxes, okay, it does not change your standing in the marketplace, okay? We have never wanted in your pocket. We're not going to get in your pocket now, okay? All it does is it puts you on a list that corporate can see, all right? When you join KW Commercial,
We've always been about gaming the system.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
when you join KW Commercial, you have two options, okay? You can join as a full member and you pay $199 a month, okay? Those of you who are directors understand that if you join under us, you cannot take that title. So if you want that title, you have to do it as a full member. That's the only caveat. So, if you decide you want to join KW Commercial Texas, I believe the associate level, and I have the application, and I think I also have the link that'll take you to the application, is like $75 or $76 a month, as opposed to 75, as opposed to $199. Okay. But you have to send Victoria an email and tell her so that she can monitor that list, because she has to do, and this is a big favor that she's doing for us, because in order to manage it so that corporate sees it, okay, but not have it affect anything accounting wise, she's actually got to run a second screen, okay, and monitor it. Because if you join on our team and you use that form, KW Corporate
Does
will.
that mean they're joining on our team as KW Commercial Energy?
No,
Corp?
Maddox,
Yes, ma'am.
separate things, Maddox. So what happens is when you join, okay, KW Corporate is going to double check and see if you're on that roster. Okay, if you're not on the roster and you try and join on the 75, they will automatically bump you to the 199. Okay, so just understand if you do this, that's how it's gonna have to work. But once again, if you're on the list with Victoria, it changes nothing with regard to your standing in this market center.
And you don't
Okay.
pay us.
You don't pay a squat. It's just a list, Victoria. And I'll give you, let me know, so at least I know what you're doing. And I'll send you the form or the link for the form that you can fill in to join, okay? As a member of our quote unquote team, okay? Here again, clear as mud.
So what if we're already paying full freight? Can we unjoin?
I don't know. I don't know that. I'm gonna have to ask that. I don't know. I don't know how that would work. No, she wouldn't have that answer. She's doing just that one piece. That would probably be a Michael Bozart question, because he would know how to get that answer without tripping any triggers.
Is there a time frame on this $75 thing?
What do you mean? No,
You have to do it within a certain amount?
no. Oh, no. There's no time frame. So, but the expectation is once you reach a certain level, you're going to be generating. We're doing this because we have agents who are just starting out, okay? And you're not generating a lot of commercial transactions, all right? And so the expectation is that once you get to a point where you're generating enough to take that business write-off of $199 a month, which is what it is, it's a membership fee, okay? And let Uncle Sam pay it at the end of the year, that you will do so. And then, because you're going to have that experience and you're going to have done, the various classifications, you can then apply to be a director with KW Commercial Corporate. Okay. And so you'll just be shown in the roster as that. Okay.
So you have to apply corporate for that.
Sorry,
So you have to apply corporate for that.
for which one?
Director.
No, you have that. Whoa, we got a mustache going.
We have a mustache that's going to nice. And what do you guys think of the wallpaper?
I think it's,
Shiny.
it looks flashy, sparkly,
Oh, that's nice.
sparkly. It's sparkly.
Looks nice, Mike.
It goes with your go-to.
Thank you.
Cute.
Very good, guys.
Yeah, we're discussing, the membership in KW Commercial Corporate, the fees and all of that good stuff. And I just made the announcement about, Ash. They already knew about
Yes.
Sealy.
Congratulations.
So, I think you have somebody fixing to walk in. I'm not sure. So we're just kind of going over some stuff. We've talked to, just so you know, we've talked to Brandon about, a logo for KW Commercial Texas. And because there's a great deal of enthusiasm about becoming a little more homogeneous and having that
What do you guys think
identification.
about that, having one name brand?
It's a good idea.
It's not as.
Yeah, that's my big deal. It's a lot less confusing.
Very good. Good to see you all.
Thanks, Michael. If you want to take a couple of seconds and grab a chair, we haven't actually started yet. Okay?
So Claire, just for clarification. Do you want us to give our names to Victoria, even though we don't want to sign up for the $75 yet?
No.
Or is that only for the 70?
That's only for that. That's only for that. Only if you're going to sign up using that discount. Okay? So, there you go. So we get, I think my husband stepped out and that's all right. We'll go ahead and start. So, in an effort to kind of get everybody going and shake the sheet and, get rid of wrinkles and stuff. One of the things that's starting to pop up a little bit more, they're not that common, are ground leases. They're not as common as regular sales and regular leases. It's not rocket science, okay? Definitely not rocket science if you're representing the landlord. It can get a little more involved if you're representing the tenant. Depends on how involved with the tenant's business and investments that they want you to become or that you want to learn about. Because there are various calculations that can be used to give the tenant more information as far as their overall cost and that sort of thing. So what we're gonna do today is we're gonna go over, land leases, ground leases, okay? This is not the end all. As y'all know, every commercial transaction is different. And they're all gonna have their own little idiosyncrasies, okay? So if you, whether you're part of Energy Corridor or not, and this is where the homogenization is starting to take place. If you're doing commercial, if you have been released by Michael Bozart, okay, to be a part of a group or to do commercial, to be a part of a commercial group or to do commercial, then if you happen to come up against a land lease, a ground lease, one and the same, I strongly recommend, if you have no experience with them, come to a director, okay? Come to someone who has done one or someone who can hold your hand and walk you through it. Richard, have you done ground leases?
Have not, not on the real estate side, not on the financing side,
Well,
but not on the real estate.
but you still have information that you can impart. I don't know how many of y'all know that you did financing, right? Lending? Do you still do commercial
I
lending?
still have a point.
Okay. Richard has a background in commercial lending, did when he got his license and came on. So he has a wealth of information, and I strongly recommend that you avail yourself of that experience, okay? He's very approachable. He's always been approachable. So let's go ahead and we'll go ahead and get started on this. And like I said, if you come up against a ground lease or a land lease, don't be afraid to come up and ask questions and say, hey, I have this opportunity. Can you walk me through this? Can you answer these questions? We will either answer them or we will find the answers, or we will put you with someone who can answer a specific question. So, and nobody has come in to participate, so I guess nobody actually used the link. Okay. Ground lease. You have a tenant, you have a lease agreement, pretty easy. You take the land on the lease because it's raw land, okay? There's no, it could be cleared and ready to develop. It could have been previously developed and something torn off of it, but you're not leasing any improvements. You're leasing only the land from the landlord. The tenant makes necessary changes, generally the development of the property and a building of an improvement. Okay, let's say it's like a Starbucks or a Walmart. A lot of times Walmart, even some of the big box stores, will do land leases. They're going to make the necessary change and they're going to hold the property for a period of years. Okay. Once they get out from underneath the lease, once it expires or they pay their way out of it, then the whole thing is handed over to the property owner. It becomes theirs free and clear. Should be free and clear by then.
That includes all the construction on that.
Everything, everything goes to the landowner.
Most famous land lease? Anybody know?
Most famous what, land lease? Which one?
We get more apart. I think that's, but I think about the process.
So I think, no, what part is a donation to the city?
It's a donation subject to. Yep, yep.
Empire State Building in the nineties?
Wow.
You've got several buildings in New York that are land leases, yeah. Well, if I can get this thing to click, there we go. Okay. Yeah, generally, yeah, they can, but understand something. Land leases, if you look at the last one, they tend to have very long terms. 20 to 40 years is common, but a ground lease up to 99 years is not uncommon. Now, now here's a land lease that's even more famous. That was a 99-year land lease. Okay. A 99-year land lease, and it was up. When was it up? Wasn't 1970, it was after that. Hong Kong was a land lease from the Chinese by the British. And when all heck broke loose, was about 2 years prior to the expiration of the lease.
Gerald Ford land lease in Beaver Creek for 100 years.
Which one?
A land lease in Beaver Creek, Colorado.
Okay.
for 100 years.
Okay, cool.
To attract, when they opened
Yeah.
Beaver Creek
Yeah,
first, that was like the main attraction, the Ford family.
yeah. So ground leases, also called land leases, are a lease of land only. Usually the land is leased for a fairly long period of time, 50 to 99 years, to a tenant that constructs a building on the property. A ground lease separates ownership from the land from ownership of the building and improvements constructed on the land. Ground leases tend to have very long terms. 20 to 40 years is common for an initial term, but ground leases up to 99 years aren't common. We have some aren't uncommon, sorry. We have some in downtown Houston. When I first started in commercial a decade or so ago with Butler, we actually did a ground lease in Houston, in the old part of downtown. I worked with him on that. And it was 99 years. And I remember at the time being frankly amazed, who's going to be around in 99 years? Well, probably nobody, but that's not the point. So
That's just income for next time.
there you go. And all the heirs. A slightly more graphic explanation. Now this goes back to New York. This actually comes from makingnewyorkcityhome.com, where they're buying all the what they call apartments. We would call them condos here. And you notice the ground it set up the red, this is yours. You go down to the ground, not yours. The building is yours. The ground is not yours.
So what happens once the land lease is expired, they don't renew and you own $10 million flat apartment?
That's a good question.
It's yours. But
Well, I mean, what are they gonna do? Are they gonna tear down a building, a skyscraper?
that's what I'm saying, what would be
Yeah,
the?
It
probably.
reverts back to the person.
I would imagine, and see, and that's a slightly different classification. I would imagine that the purchase of that sort of thing, because this would be, I would imagine that it's probably done on a percentage ownership basis as far as the improvement goes. And I would imagine that there is going to be some sort of clause in there regarding that. In the development, I would also imagine that the property owner participated on some level with that development. I don't know what New York State's condominium laws are.
I
So,
was just thinking that there would be a big conflict, right? As soon as, let's say, the land lease expires, this guy, let's say they have a 30-year lease and this guy's kids starts living there and the land lease is gone. Like,
I would imagine on properties like this, they're gonna go for the longer 99-year leases.
of course, yeah.
But still have the clauses that are necessary.
Sarah,
Yes,
also assuming there's escalation clauses in the cost,
there are.
so that there's not, yeah, it's not
Yeah,
static.
there are.
You're not paying pennies.
You're jumping ahead of me on a slide, but yeah, but that's a good question. It's a legitimate question. Absolutely.
Besides, on 99 years, it's gonna take that long to pay that building off, so they're
Probably.
not gonna wanna, I mean, once the ground lease is up, the owner gets it back anyway with everything on it, so that's why you go long term.
Okay, lots of text on this one. There are good reasons why a ground lease is advantageous to all parties involved. For the tenant, a ground lease provides access to well-located land that otherwise could not be bought. This is why ground leases are widely used by many big retail tenants such as McDonald's, Chick-fil-A, and Starbucks, and some of the box stores, as I told you. Another advantage of a ground lease is that the tenant does not have to come up with the upfront cash required to purchase the land in a deal. This lowers the upfront equity required in an investment, freeing up cash for other uses, such as construction. For landowners, a ground lease provides an income stream from a creditworthy tenant while still allowing the landlord to retain ownership and control of the land. Ground leases generally have built-in escalation clauses and eviction rights, which give the landowner adequate rent increases over the term of the lease, as well as further downside protection in the event of a default. Another benefit to landowners is that ground leases normally have a reversionary clause which transfers ownership of the improvements to the landlord at the end of the lease. The cons of a ground lease. For the tenant, given the terms of a lease agreement, a tenant may find the intended development and use of the land in question restrictive, which would not be the case if the tenant had gone for outright purchase. Remember that the owner controls. The cost of leasing land, taking into account escalation clauses that outline rent increases over the term of the agreement, may turn out to be higher for the tenant in the long term as compared to an outright purchase. It, however, depends on the viability and success of the project or business undertaken on the property. You have two types of ground leases. You have subordinated ground leases. Y'all know, y'all use the term subordinated a lot. You probably don't remember. Do you know what it's in?
Marriage.
No, it's not in marriage. Your leases, your commercial leases. There will be, you've got a subordination clause in your regular leases, your regular commercial leases. No subordination. In a subordinated ground lease, the landowner gets a lower priority on claims on the land in question by agreeing to such terms. Here, the owner allows the mortgage of the land to the lender whose rights remain overriding to the owner. While the fact that the owner itself would agree to take on a lower priority on the land that he owns may seem counterintuitive, it's not so. Because the owner benefits from the improvement of his property, which increases the property's overall value. Further, giving up the first claim on the land also allows him to negotiate favorable terms, including a higher rent, because he's giving up some of his rights. You know, when you were studying real estate, you had what's called the bundle of rights, okay? So if the owner agrees, the landlord agrees to do a subordinated ground lease, he's going to give up one of those sticks of rights, okay, or some of those sticks. Unsubordinated ground lease. In an unsubordinated ground lease, the landowner retains top priority on the property if the tenant defaults on loans taken for undertaking improvements on the land. It means that lenders to the tenant cannot take ownership of the land in the case of a default by the tenant. This top priority usually means that the landowner charges lower rent to the tenant. And even though it makes his position safer than it would in a subordinated lease, the lender becomes hesitant to extend loans to the tenant as they cannot claim the property in case of a default. No collateral. Okay.
Say a 100-year ground lease. What's the, do they figure the commission over that 100 years and you get it as you go old?
No. No,
Or
it's
do you
it's
get
the
it all
same.
up front?
You get it just like you would in any lease, in any other
Chunk of
lease.
change.
It is chunk.
Could be.
It could be potential.
It's what?
They'll cap it. They'll cap it on the commission, they'll cap it on commission. But you gotta remember, in some cases, depending on the length of the lease, the price per square foot may be pennies. Can literally be pennies, less than $1, okay? What's it running?
50 cents,
50 cents?
5 inch,
On what term?
20.
20 years. That's not bad. So it's not like you're gonna walk out and you're gonna get $12 a square foot for 100-year on 20,000 square feet. That ain't happening. Okay. So the longer, generally speaking, in a ground lease, the longer the lease, the less per square foot. Okay.
Can the leaser,
Lessor,
lessor, can they take their improvements? With
not if it's fixed to the property, no. If it's an improvement to the property, if it becomes real property, if it becomes an appurtenant to the land, no.
And that
It's that.
applies to all leases.
I have a question about that, about my deal, remember? So the client deals with what he wants to put up on the container. one of these containers that now they're building.
Yeah.
At the restaurant. And, so he was like, well, I can just leave that out and trailer it out at the end.
Not if it's affixed to the land in any way.
If he affixes it in any way, then he can. Okay.
If it's affixed to the land, it becomes part of
This is
it.
Part of the agreement. I mean, you can.
Yeah, if it's part of the agreement, that's something that, are you representing the landlord or the tenant?
No, the team.
Okay, then that's something he can't assume. Okay.
But we can put it in the negotiations that at the end of
Yes.
the day, he'll can take. it.
Yes.
Okay, that's good.
You could also put in the negotiations that he would return the land to its original state. Okay. I mean, if it's something that's like that, that's portable, okay, some sort of an improvement that could technically be portable, then yeah, you could put that clause that the tenant agrees to put the land back in its original state, if the landlord will accept that. And with something like the containerized improvement, he may.
If, in case of these developers that want to, that the land could be an important part of the deal. And the one that has the land doesn't want to put the land because it could lose in terms of if the development, the people that is making the development, they don't finish the construction.
Yeah,
Then the collateral on the land. So the main, the responsible party is the one that owns the land, okay?
that's where we're talking about the difference between a subordinated and an unsubordinated lease.
So what will happen if this project can go through?
Yeah.
And instead of just putting the land into the numbers of the project, you lease it. And then at the end, I don't know, is that an option? I'm crazy.
No, I'm trying to
Yeah,
make sure I understand your question.
because.
If they
you lease it,
fail during development, okay, you're saying if they fail during development,
Okay. If you're leasing it, you don't lose the land. It's not a collateral. So then it's maybe the way of legally participate with the land for someone in a development would be through a lease instead of putting the land into the project.
if you put the land,
Because you own the land, but you don't own.
so are you saying that the landowner's wanting to participate in the development?
Yes,
They would have to accept the risk that if the development falters, if it
yes,
fails,
but if you don't want to accept that risk, a way to
ground lease. Ground lease, yeah,
be an option.
yeah, absolutely, unsubordinated,
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then you don't risk it anything. You can go in.
unsubordinated. Yeah, yeah, it's an option. And then here's a graphic on ground leases. This came from eFinance Management. I love graphics, so I'm always on the hunt for a good graphic. And this will be posted, so, and it's also being recorded, so you'll have access to it on the link that I'll send you another link that Julie gave me that you can go to. It's a YouTube channel link. And it'll actually have, when you first go to it, it'll have all of the recordings. It'll have the Roberson recording that we did for Land ID, as well as any other commercial. The CoStar stuff is in there, okay, as well. It's a one-stop. So you see the pros and cons at the bottom. You've got the subordinated ground lease, a description, unsubordinated ground lease, okay? Like I said, this is kind of a one-stop graphic, and it will be on the shared directory, so you'll have this. Structuring a ground lease. Here are some components that go into structuring a ground lease. The term, obviously, how long you're gonna let them have the land. The lease must be sufficiently long to allow the leasee to amortize the cost of the improvements it makes, kind of like when a landlord does tenant improvement. The expectation is that the lease will be long enough for the landlord to recover the investment of the TI. Well, it's the same type of deal here. It's got to be long enough to have a reasonable expectation that the tenant is going to recover based on profit is, or income is going to recover the cost of the improvements that they put on there. In other words, the lessee must make enough profits during the lease to pay for the lease and the improvements. Furthermore, the lessee must make a reasonable return on its investment after paying all costs. The biggest driver of the lease term is the financing that the lessee arranges. Normally, the lessee will want a term that is 5 to 10 years longer than the loan amortization schedule, because they want that period free and clear so that profits are coming to them, okay? On a 30-year mortgage, that means a lease term of at least 35 to 40 years. However, fast food ground leases with shorter amortization periods might have a 20-year lease term. And I think somebody in here had someone with a fast food, was it you, a restaurant?
Yes.
With a
but
20
they-
year.
But they don't want 20, they want 60.
Okay,
They're asking for the process of it.
okay. I think we had somebody else that had a 20, but 60 is great. There's a great, when you look at this online, you're going to see the credits at the bottom of the screen. Assets America is a financing company, financing group. They can do this type of financing for ground leases. They're national. Rights and responsibilities. Beyond the arrangements for paying rent, a ground lease has several unique features. For example, when the lease expires, what will happen to the improvements? Your question. The lease will specify whether they revert to the lessor or the lessee must remove them. Another feature is for the lessor to assist the lessee in obtaining necessary licenses, permits, and zoning variances. Because to a degree, the lessor is a participant. Financeability. The lender must have recourse to protect its loan if the lessee defaults. This is difficult in an unsubordinated ground lease because the lessor has first priority in the case of default. The lender only has the right to claim the leasehold. However, one remedy is a clause that requires the successor lessee to use the lender to finance the new ground lease. The topic of financeability is complex, and your legal experts will need to weigh through the various intricacies. And I would strongly recommend, if you're dealing with something like this, okay, and it's involved on the financing side, if you are representing the landlord, that is not a monkey on your back. That is the responsibility of the tenant, okay? And what they're doing. If the agent for the tenant is one of those that wants to get involved in that, there's another site that I'll tell you about that's really great for that, where you can do a deep dive. If you're a CCIM dollars, numbers minded person, you'll find it fascinating. Topic is complex legal, so we got that. Various intricacies. Title insurance. The lessee must arrange title insurance for its leasehold. This requires special endorsements to the regular owner's policy. So you want to make sure you go with a very reputable title company. Not a fly-by-night that's brand new out the door, probably. Use provision. Lenders want the broadest use provision in the lease. What happens if it defaults? They want to make sure that the next person has the ability to do whatever they need to. Basically, the provision would allow any legal purpose for the property. In this way, the lender can more easily sell the leasehold in case of default. The lessor might have the right to consent in any new purpose for the property. However, the lender will seek to restrict this right. If the lessor feels strongly about prohibiting certain uses for the property, it should specify them in the lease, in the primary lease. Okay, it should specify them in the primary lease. The primary lease is always going to be used as the bones for any successive lease. Okay, they're going to refer to that as the original document. Casualty and condemnation. The lender controls insurance proceeds stemming from casualty and condemnation. However, this may conflict with the standard wording of a ground lease, which gives some control to the lessor. Unsurprisingly, lenders want the insurance proceeds to go towards the loan, not property restoration. Lenders also require that neither lessors nor lessees can terminate ground leases due to a casualty without their permission. Now, what would happen? What kind of, and this came to my mind when I was reading this earlier. What type of incident would really deal with a casualty to a building on a lease, on a ground lease, a building, think New York. A building involved in a ground lease. 9/11.
Yeah.
9/11. And there were what, 7 buildings total involved? I think so. Regarding condemnation, lenders insist upon participating in the proceedings. The lender's requirements for applying the condemnation proceeds and controlling termination rights mirror those for casualty events. You start to look at things when you start really looking at some of the idiosyncrasies for some of the commercial contracts that we do. You start looking at everyday occurrences and events in a totally different light. It becomes, wow, I wonder what happened when this happened, or what if. Leasehold mortgages. These are mortgages financing the lessee's improvements to the ground lease property. Typically, lenders balk at lessors maintaining an unsubordinated position with respect to default. If there is a pre-existing mortgage, the mortgagee must agree to an S&DA agreement. Usually, the ground lease lender wants first priority regarding subtenant defaults. Moreover, lenders require that the ground lease remains in force if the lessee defaults. If the lessor sends a notice of default to the lessee, the lender must receive a copy. Everybody's a participant. Lessees want the right to obtain a leasehold mortgage without the lender's consent. Lenders want the ground lease to serve as collateral should the lessee default. Upon foreclosure of the property, the lender receives the lessee's leasehold interest in the property. Lessors might want to restrict the type of entity that can hold a leasehold mortgage. Again, this comes from Assets of America. This is what they do. This is the type of loans that they do. That's what they specialize in. So if you get one, check them out. Rent escalation. Lessors want the right to increase rents after specified periods so that it maintains market level rents. A ratchet increase offers the lessee no protection in the face of an economic downturn. So if we have inflation and everybody, people can't pay their, or COVID, and people can't pay their rent, guess what? On rent escalations, you have the same thing in a normal lease. Same thing in a commercial lease. And you're going to have the same thing because the value of the property is going to increase. All right. And you can calculate an estimated increase, okay, by looking at the previous values, taxable values of the land, okay, and seeing how it, or looking at your market analysis. Use CoStar, okay, can help with the market analysis.
Is there protection if they default on the lease?
Is there what, I'm sorry?
Protection for the lease or
For the lessor?
if they default on the lease, because the improvements could be.
The improvements stay, obviously. So that's where you get into this. But see, that's where you get into the idiosyncrasies with regard to a subordinated or unsubordinated lease.
So it can go both ways.
It could go either way. Yeah. I mean, you're not generally going to have a blended situation because the mortgage or, okay, which is going to be the lender, okay, is going to have a loan on the improvements. But on a ground lease, if it's unsubordinated, the only thing that they can attach to is the improvement. Okay, they can't attach to the land itself. That's protected. That's not the case in a subordinated land lease, ground lease. The landlord has to be very careful. The landlord in in a subordinated ground lease, they have to be very careful. And that's where you want to get a good commercial attorney involved. Simple calculation for ground lease rate. Okay, now if you come into something that's going to be a lot more complicated, if you happen to do something that's going to be downtown and going to be a major high-rise development or something like that, this is obviously, you're going to want to look at a little bit more detail. Base rent, land value based on current comps for raw land. Okay, now if the raw land is in downtown, then it's already going to have utilities. It may have, various other goodies that are available to it, but it's not an improvement. Okay, it's not a building. Land value based on current comps times 5%. Divide the number that you get by 12, because what you're going to get is the annual. Divide by 12 to get a monthly base rent. Okay, so you've got land value times 5% divided by 12 gives you monthly base. The total cost of annual property taxes, any insurance, and any maintenance the property owner would be responsible for, added together for annual cost, divide by 12, gives you the triple net. Okay, total annual expenses divided by 12 equals monthly triple net. And what are you going to do? You're going to have your base rent to get what they're going to pay monthly. You have your base rent plus the triple net. Okay. Any improvements added to the property will increase the taxes. So the client will need to be responsible for any escalation. It should be in increased triple net because of maintenance. Okay. Insurance for any improvements will be the responsibility of the lessee, not the property owner, not the lessor. You will also need to include a minimal annual escalation to the base rent to account for the increased value of the land. Graphic example is look at some of the areas that are now really developing. Okay, look at the commercial developments. Look at the difference between the value of the land 5 years ago. Watch it as the area has improved and that land value has increased. Okay, so you've got to protect the lessor on this because they're going to get stuck with the taxes. So you have to have an escalation clause to protect the landowner, the lessor, from these escalations. Okay. Questions? Everybody with me? It's all quiet. Everybody's going, oh crap, I don't want to do this. Huh? Little bit. Now, I will tell you, let me go back because I had notes on one of these slides. Oh, for those who want to dig deeper, and this will be on the PowerPoint in the shared directory, from an investment development standpoint, ground lease, you can look at a ground lease valuation model, and here's the link for it. It's adventuresincre.com. And what's really cool, that site is hosted by a gentleman by the name of Spencer Burton. And there is a calculator. He's got multiple calculators, but for ground lease valuation, to give, if you're representing the tenant, to give the tenant, you can hand this to the tenant if they're real brainiacs, if there's somebody like Ash and they're numbers people and they've done this on their own for stuff. Give that calculator or play around with the calculator yourself. He gives great instructions on how to use it. It's an Excel-based calculator, and he explains it in great detail. But it can give you all kinds of numbers. I mean, the entries for that thing, you can do simple, you can do medium, and you can go really, really, really deep dive, and the thing is like a foot long as far as just the input, the data you're putting in. So that site again is adventuresincre.com by Spencer Burton. So once again, questions? Anybody? Now it's not going to go for me. There we go. Clear as mud? Hopefully what we do is give you enough information in these sessions, okay? So that you'll recognize situations, you'll recognize some of the idiosyncrasies. If you get, if you get involved in a situation where you have a tenant or a landlord who wants to look at something like this, it won't be, you won't have this deer in the headlights look when they bring it up. You'll go, yeah, okay, I've got some information on that. Yeah, let's look at it. And then you come and we start fine tuning, okay? Doesn't matter what classification it is, that's what we're driving at with these training sessions, okay? Every contract, every situation is going to be different. It's going to be unique in some fashion. But if you know enough that your clients are comfortable that you can answer their questions, even if you have to get, I don't know, but I'll get that answer. That's going to make you look much better than someone who doesn't have any commercial training. This is one of the big reasons the Market Center and Trek does not want residential agents playing at commercial. It is bar none the quickest way to lose your license. If you don't know what's going on and you do it without the broker, which is the broker of record, which is Michael Bozart, giving you written permission. Okay. If you join one of the training groups, okay, like our group, if you join one of the training groups, then you kind of sidestep that. All right. Because then there's an added layer of indemnification, which is us, which is the training program. Okay. And you don't have to have his specific written approval. You have ours because he knows we notify him that you're part of the group and that we're holding your hand. Okay. But I'm here to tell you, if you hear residential agents saying, oh, I got this, and they don't got this, please warn them, okay? Put the fear of Trek in them, because Trek will take their license, they will fine the office, and if something goes sideways and you get your license removed and this office gets fined, guess what? You are also open to civil suit. They can ruin your life. You don't want that. By just asking a question. You can avert a problem by just asking a question. Okay. And availing yourself. I don't care if you're a member of our group or not. If you're not a member of our group, you're not going to have access to our bells and whistles. But I don't care if you're a member of our group or not. If you want to call and ask a question, you better believe I'm going to indemnify this office by answering your question. I don't care what time it is. Okay.
3 in the morning.
Miss Buckaloo called me one time at 12:45 in the morning because she saw I was online and I answered the call. If it's important enough for you to call, it's important enough for me to take the call, unless I literally just can't. I will take your call. Okay. So please don't be afraid to ask. There are no dumb questions. The dumb questions are the ones that will save your license.
Andrew calls all the time.
For those of you who know Andrew Marlowe, my stepchild.
How to pronounce his name?
There you go, the stepchild. So he's a good broker. Okay, well, what time is it?
4 o'clock. Close.
But almost on the button. So that's good. So for those of you doing commercial, again, we're trying to homogenize. We're trying to work under KW Commercial Texas. To reiterate, because of Mr. Copeland's suggestion, we will be getting a logo. Okay. Because you brought it up again. Yes, sir.
So are we still gonna use KW?
We can. You had stepped out on a call. Yes. The answer to that is yes, you can. If we still have our quote unquote group, because our group has access to tools and toys that we provide. And if you want to use KW Commercial Energy Corridor, you can. If you want to use KW Commercial Texas, you can, even if you're with our group.
And are we switching from Yahoo to Gmail now?
You can switch to Gmail. The commercial, now what you can do is when you join KW Commercial Corporate, you can get the Gmail based at kwcommercial.com. email address, okay? But for those who are not joining or who don't want to get away from that identification, we pay for that email base. The office doesn't. And to go to Gmail or Outlook is horrendously expensive. We're talking thousands of dollars per year. And I don't know about you guys, but that's not something that, you know, we want to have, even though Uncle Sam might be paying for it at the end of the year, we'd still have to come up with that nut at the beginning of each year. So,
I just have a lot of contacts in KWC with the other, so I gotta transfer.
I understand. I feel your pain. I do. I feel your pain. When he switched both times, I had to import all of his stuff. So Yeah.
And for Yahoo, this is very important.
it's a head.
Yahoo makes everything that.
I will tell y'all, Yahoo's going through some sort of improvements and updates. So be patient. Their site is going upsy downsy right now because they're changing that platform. The Turbify, it's not Yahoo anymore. It's Turbify. Okay. Turbify, which is owned by Verizon. Turbify. 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 Yes. Correct.
If we join the KW commercial mail, do we get the KW commercial email address, or are we going to use KWC?
You can do whatever you want to.
Oh, but still we're going with the new email.
If you join KW Commercial Corporate, if you start paying,
corporate.
okay, whether you go in as an associate on that team list I was telling you about, or whether you join it directly and pay $199 a month, you get access to kwcommercial.com.
Oh.
The at KW District. It's a Gmail-based platform,
Either one,
right? And you can use either one you want.
and we get like real nice on stuff.
Absolutely. You get all those bells and whistles in addition. Yeah, absolutely. So there you go. And the virtual assistant for commercial, Joshua, is now active. I have a link for him that I can give to you. You have to book time. He has 20 hours a week currently to devote to commercial. Yes, available. Okay. If he gets to the point where all of his time is being utilized, okay, and we see increased production. Our production for commercial is now a lot higher than it ever was before because of the number of people that are actually doing this craft. As demand increases, okay, this is a buy-in from Mr. Bozart. He's paying for this. Okay. So that's like 15 grand a month or something like that. Or 1,500, is it 1,500? Sorry, 1,500 a month. 1,500, yeah, 15, you're right. So it's 1,500 a month. Yeah, really. It's 1,500 a month for the virtual assistant. Okay. It's kind of, it's kind of his company, but he still has to pay the dude.
Yeah.
All right. And he's very well trained. He's very smart. He's very articulate. He speaks English just as well as you or I. Okay. He's very sharp, very, very, very sharp young man. Okay. He is not a transaction coordinator. If you use him, he can do research for you. He can do your marketing for you. And he can get things loaded. You have to give him passwords. He can do your brochures, things like that for you. I'll be sending him some templates. I've got to get him access to RealNex on an admin side. He might even, it's part of research. So you have one available.
CoStar gives you a rep as well that does research.
But if you want someone who's not associated,
Yeah.
and is also going to take your information. But it's good. That's a good benefit with CoStar. So I will I will post the link on the KW Memorial, the KW Commercial Memorial blog site. For those of you who are doing commercial, are you currently on the WhatsApp?
No.
Okay. Do me a favor. My email address is claramaddox@kwcec.com. Are you on it? No. claramaddox@kwcec.com. If you're going to start getting involved in commercial, email me, okay? And I will add you to that WhatsApp. You have to have the app, obviously. But email me, I'll add you to my contacts, and then I will add you to that networking board, okay? So that you'll have access to hyperlinks and all the communication, all the who has what and who needs what, okay? It's a great board. It's a great board. It was actually started by Melanie Carpenter. Good on her. We had one for CEC, but she took it to the next level and did one that was for everybody that was here at the Market Center. And then one was done for, we have the outside network that I'll also add you to once, well, I can add you to it, period, both of you. That's open to outside brokers as well, okay? And we're getting more, they're coming on as it gets out, you know, it's a situation where the more it gets known, the more people are wanting to join. And we just added a couple of brokers this past weekend. Yes, sir.
The outside.
Texas Network. KW Commercial Texas Network. That's the outside one. And then the one that says KW Commercial, I think Memorial at the top. You had one at the top, Sissy. That's the one that's just within the Market Center. Okay. But I'll get y'all, if you'll email me, I'll get you added. Okay. So you can start communicating. Are you already on the boards? Okay. Excellent. Okay. So, any more comments or questions? Anything that we need? Nada? Okay. Bye. We're done. I'm